Okay, with any luck, I should be live and you should be able to hear me. Right, let me just do the usual. Where's the share thing? Here we go. Facebook? I won't forget to do this time. Let people know that we're here. I've already got quite a few people waiting, which is good. Oh, bloody heck. One moment, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just go to... Oh, dear. It's one of these I've got to use... Oh, hang on. Whoops. No. It's never easy, these things. They're never simple, are they? They're never just... It's like... Here we go. Right. Here we go. I'll just share that. It's like, with all this technology, you still get like... There's still these little fiddly things that don't work. Okay. I've got to use one browser for the live stream and another for everything else. It's the usual sort of thing. There we go. Okay, right, where were we? Back to the other browser. And hello, everyone. Greetings to everyone in the chat box. We've got 14 people watching. I want to say hello to Jason Sean, who got there first, Jock of Ages, Israel Diego Rivera, 2 Genius 2. I had a feeling you'd be here, Diego. Hugo Rune, hi. How are you? Lime Specs, long time no speak. It's great to hear from you again, Lime Specs. And we've got LOL, World War 3 coming soon. Oh, bloody. We've got 30 RT 30 RTR30. Hello, how are you? And Lime Specs. And Edwardian Lady, greetings. How are you, Edwardian Lady? Richard Kinsett and Paul W. How are you? Great. Greetings, all of you. Thanks for coming over and joining us. Thanks very much. Much appreciated. I am the man Spartan. Greetings. John Nolan. It's the Germans. Richard D. Hall has turned against Larry Warren. John, I'll be covering that in a video I'll be uploading sometime this week. All right, so don't worry. I will be talking about that in a future video. But thank you all of you for watching. Much appreciated. Greetings, all of you. Lime Spec says, just putting it out there, in my opinion, it was all above board and legit. Nothing to do with globalism, Illuminati, Israel, anything like that. Thanks. Oh, thanks, Lime Specs. Thanks. It's good to see you again. Thank you. Great to see you again. And I'm really glad you're back. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, right, I'm going to start off by saying I don't know exactly what's going on here. I really don't. When I first heard about this, I was shocked. I first heard about it from Diego Rivera, actually. Diego Rivera put a comment on the last video I uploaded saying I should apologize because Trump had been completely and totally exposed. Believe it or not, he's just said the same thing here. Oh, no, I'm not going to apologize, Diego Rivera. I don't believe I owe anyone an apology. Besides which, I'm not exactly sure what's going on here anyway. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Anyway, Henry Vlogs, hello, how are you? Yes, Iran has just raised the blood red flag of war over the Grand Mosque in Tehran, which is a bad sign. Yeah, whoops, apocalypse, says Richard Kinsey. That was very funny. I remember that. I saw it years ago. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to, before we go any further, I just want to let you know there's another video coming very soon. In fact, I'll probably upload it maybe a couple of hours after this one's finished. So probably it'll be uploaded during the night, maybe about midnight or something. I'll be able to upload it. I'm a bit tired. I don't want this to be too long because I'm pretty tired because I've been filming and editing all day. I went filming and I went editing. And because I'd already planned to make this video, I'd already shot some of it actually before I heard about this Soleimani assassination. Oh, Henry Vlog says, us in England, are we going to be in danger of war? Well, you see, this is the risk, isn't it? I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But anyway, I'll just go through the basics here. I've made some notes. Firstly, this is I first came in and heard about this from Diego Rivera was posting a comment saying, oh, Trump's been exposed. And I said, what's happened now? I went into the news and I saw all hell had broken loose. General Qasem Soleimani had been killed. Now, this is a name I've only heard. I'd heard the name, but I didn't know anything about this guy. He was actually driving in his car. There was actually two cars driving in his car outside Baghdad airport in Iraq. It wasn't in Iran, it was in Iraq, and they were hit by a drone strike. Several missiles reportedly struck the convoy, and at least 5 people, including General Soleimani, have reported to have died. Another person, Iran's Revolutionary Guard, said that the Iraqi militia leader Abu Mahdi al-Muhandis was also killed. And Trump made a statement, which I'll come into in a minute. This strike came days after protesters attacked a U.S. embassy in Baghdad and clashed with U.S. forces, forcing the embassy to be evacuated. And the Pentagon said that General Soleimani stirred up this riot. Because it was a riot, Iran has dubbed Friday's strike an act of international terrorism, and has vowed to take revenge. Now, who was this guy? Well, General Qasem Soleimani was 62 years old, and he was seen as the second most powerful figure in Iran, behind the Ayatollah Khomeini. He's the head of the Quds Force, which is an elite unit of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, reporting directly to the Ayatollah, who's the religious leader of Iran, and he spearheaded military operations across the Middle East. So it's kind of the Quds Force is kind of an exploratory army, which is basically which does work abroad. It functions as a foreign power for Iran, and spreads Iranian military might throughout the world, especially in the Middle East. Now, this is interesting. Iran has acknowledged the role of the Quds Force in the conflicts in Syria. So Soleimani and the Quds Force has actually been active in Syria, and it has advised forces loyal to the President Bashar al-Assad. Again, and now that's interesting, isn't it? Because of the Syrian civil war. And in Iraq, it's backed a Shia-dominated paramilitary force that is helping to tackle the Islamic State. Are you getting deja vu here? Do you remember the missile strikes that Trump did in 2017 and last year? This is very similar, isn't it? But while he was hailed as a heroic national figure, the US called General Soleimani and his Quds Force terrorists, holding them responsible for the deaths of hundreds of US personnel. Now, people have been posting this on Facebook. I know there's a lot of Trump loyalists out there who have been defending the president. And now I'll go into what the president has been saying. Soleimani was a wholesale murderer who killed whole families in small towns. He killed numerous American soldiers. Yeah, he was. There we are. So there's lots of things have been said around this. Basically, Trump has made a statement about this, but I'll go into that. We'll talk first about what other people have said. Joe Biden has said Trump has tossed a stick of dynamite into the tinderbox. The US Democratic presidential forerunner and former Vice President Joe Biden posted a statement on Twitter. Where else? He described the attack as a hugely escalatory move in an already dangerous region. We could be on the brink of a major conflict across the Middle East. That is a concern of mine. I wonder what's going on here. We could. Russia condemns this reckless step. Jeremy Bowen, the journalist, has said this is a dangerous escalation in a tense region. Elizabeth Warren, that old cow, she said the strike was a reckless move. Bernie Sanders says we're closer to another disastrous war. China calls for restraint, especially from the US. Iran has made a direct threat against Israel. Islamic Revolutionary Guard spokesman Brigadier General Ramizan Sharif has said that the US and Israel will receive a tough response. He's included Israel in this. That's very interesting. Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, he has returned from a trip to Greece amid security concerns. The UK Foreign Secretary, that is Dominic Raab, has urged restraint and de-escalation on the part of the United States. Jeremy Corbyn says the US assassination is extremely serious, and he said the UK government should urge restraint against and try and persuade the Americans to de-escalate. Netanyahu now, so this is so virtual wall-to-wall condemnation of Trump and his actions around the world from everyone, including our own government, the UK. Boris Johnson has just said he doesn't know anything about it. I think that's the last thing he said about it. I think the one exception I can find is Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has welcomed the US strike that killed Soleimani, saying President Donald Trump deserves all the credit for acting swiftly, forcefully, and decisively. Israel stands with the United States in its just struggle for peace, security, and self-defense. He said the US had a right to defend itself. Qasem Soleimani is responsible for the deaths of American citizens and many other innocent people and is planning more such attacks. Trump tweeted that, well, firstly, the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said that there was an imminent attack, which was actually thwarted by this assassination. The Russian defense minister had praised Soleimani for the fight against Islamic State, and this is that's a rather interesting. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said that this is short-sighted action by the US and serious negative consequences for the whole region and for international security could result as a result of this. Trump then gave out a series of tweets. He said that General Qasem Soleimani has killed or badly wounded thousands of Americans over an extended period of time and was plotting to kill more, but got caught. He was directly and indirectly responsible for the deaths of millions of people, including a recent large number of protesters killed in Iran itself. While Iran will never be able to properly admit it, Soleimani was both hated and feared within the country. They are not as nearly saddened as their leaders will let the outside world believe. He should have been taken out years ago. What's funny about that, but there are pictures from inside Iran of people celebrating this on the side of the Americans. Putin condemns the US strike in a phone call with Macron. Oh my God. How will Iran hit back, says Jeremy Bowen. They will, yeah. Despite arms embargo, Iran has developed a modern arsenal of rockets and missiles. But if it wanted to use them against US forces as part of a reprisal, that would be a mistake. What he goes and says here, there may be attacks on oil assets such as oil fields and oil tankers. That could happen. There could be attacks like that. Remember the oil tankers that were impounded a little while ago? Now, this is really worrying. Hashtag Franz Ferdinand 1914 is trending on social media, and this is very worrying because this, of course, refers to the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, who was heir apparent to the Austro-Hungarian Empire. He was actually shot dead by Bosnian nationalists in June of 1914. This was the spark that lit the tinderbox that lit the flame, which ended up in the Great War. 12 million, 4.5 years of slaughter, 12 million people dead. There's all kinds of things like this is where it gets confusing. There's several articles I've read, about what exactly is going on here. It's almost like this is a three-way split here, because on whose side are Israel and United States regarding the civil wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Iraq and Syria? Because at the moment they've carried out actions against both sides in the last few years. It's getting confusing, but anyway, the US is preparing to deploy 3,500 more troops to the region. 3,500 troops are already on their way, I think, from the 82nd Airborne Division based at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Now, Trump then made a press release. He did a press conference where he said, I killed Soleimani to stop a war, not to start a war. The president began a press conference by threatening the enemies of America. We will find you. We will eliminate you. We will always protect American service members. General Soleimani made the deaths of innocent people his sick passion. As far away as New Delhi and London. Yeah, in London what was happening in London? Is he talking about some of the attacks here? We can take comfort from knowing that his reign of terror is over, said Trump. He made this decision not to start a war, but to stop a war. I am ready and prepared to take whatever action is necessary, and that particularly refers to Iran. So I'll just read through the comments now on the notice that I put up. Shlomo Aziz says, not so much to tell about Qasem Soleimani, the good old US of A did the same thing as the Israeli Mossad did, to take out the leaders they deem an enemy of the state. RIP QS. T23, so ET said, everything David Icke told us about is playing out before our eyes. The Zionist cabal's greed for world dominance and hunger for world war. Trump, the dumb puppet, gave the green light for the next stage of the agenda. And Woden20 says, Trump must have had a good time on Epstein's Island. And someone actually has just sent me this on Twitter, on Facebook, just before I came on the air. Hey, Ben, this Iran situation is possibly the NWO backlash to post-2016. So, guys, your guess is as good as mine. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. I really am not. There could be several things here. This could be, as I said, this could be the cabal striking back against Trump. I'm concerned that we're looking at the similar things to the missile strikes. Now, the missile strikes in 2017, 2018 are very similar to what we've just seen. They were against the country that Soleimani is propping up, that is Syria, the Syrian government. Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria, has been engaging a war, and it's been quite successful, actually, against the al-Nusra Front. It's been a civil war in Syria for about, God knows how long, 10 years, something like that. It's parallel, of course, is in Iraq with the American-backed regime there, fighting against the Islamic State of the Iraq and Levant. What's been happening is Russia has been vehemently opposing the Islamic State, with up to and including airstrikes. This is why it would have been very, very tricky if this essentially puts them on the side of Syria. America technically is opposed to the Islamic State. Now, it's all getting very, very complicated, because this is almost like, I mean, someone could interpret this as an Israeli-US action in support of the Islamic State, or at least they've attacked the enemies of the Islamic State. And it's almost like the enemy of your enemy is my friend. And I've talked on previous videos many, many times about the origins of IS, about how it was people such as Israel, the Israeli foreign minister, the prince, the king of Saudi Arabia, Hillary Clinton, and these other people have basically created this thing, this Islamic State. And in which case, though, why has President Trump got involved in this? And I mean, Diego Rivera takes a very simplistic view of this, which I would expect from him, because he's always had this black and white notion of what Trump is. That Trump is simply a bad guy in a very good disguise. Well, you know, I understand why what we see here. It's easy to think that now, Diego, and believe me, it's possible that you are partly right, in the sense that Trump, I don't think Trump himself is a bad guy, but he may have been co-opted by the bad guys through threats. Now, we know that before the 2017 missile strike, there was a fire in Trump Tower in which a person died. The origins of this fire were never traced, but then the following day, Trump made an announcement he was going to launch a cruise missile strike from ships in the Mediterranean Sea against Syrian assets as a response to alleged chemical weapons attacks. And I've done an entire live stream on that, which you can find on my channel. So that's it's possible that the cabal have done this because they're worried about the survival of their asset in the Middle East, which is ISIS. It's one of their people. They've created them. They bought them their shiny new uniforms and weapons. Those lovely big Toyota pickup trucks with heavy machine gun mounts on, straight off the production line, brand new. You've seen them. We've talked about them. They're expensive. IS is well funded. It's well equipped. It's well armed. It has general issue equipment and weapons. It is a foreign funded and foreign supported force. And indeed, this is part of a pattern that's been going on for several decades now. One of the first people who alerted to this was the much maligned David Shayler. Remember him? The MI5 officer who went rogue and everyone condemned in the media. None of the media stories that are attacking him ever explain exactly why he had made this decision to supposedly become a traitor. And indeed, my next video is going to be about this more general subject. But the reason he decided to do what he did was he found out that the agency that he was an officer in was backing Islamic radicals in Libya, who were basically carrying out terrorist atrocities against the people of Libya and had a plan to assassinate Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, the country's leader. And what's more, they succeeded, didn't they? Who's ruling Iraq now? Who's ruling Libya now? What's happened to Gaddafi? He was kicked to death in the streets by a lynch mob. And now there's a new regime, which is basically the product of that very thing that David Shayler warned us about. The other possibility is that in some way that I haven't worked out yet, Trump has struck against the cabal. Soleimani and the whole Syrian regime and everything like that is a part of the cabal. And Trump has struck back against him. I don't know. I mean, I don't have all the answers, guys. I really don't. So I'm keen to see what you guys have to say. Anyway, I'd like to say hello to everyone who's joined the live stream recently. Legend Real, hello. There's not going to be that many comments, so because this has been quite a short lead off, so I might read a few of them out. Well, I won't go through all of them, but I'll just say hello to people who joined. Thanks, Jason. I'm glad you like the Helen Duncan documentary. And Legend Real says just another NWO invented bogeyman. Yeah. Proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal trans rabbit says, "Oh lordy, Ben the blunders in. What's behind it all then? Aliens, shape-shifting lizards? Oh, both, rabbit, both." Hugo Rune says the two officers were targeted because they were close to defeating ISIS, so they were taken out to protect ISIS. Well, you know, Hugo, that's exactly what happened with the airstrikes last year and the year before, wasn't it? I think this is so similar to that, isn't it? But Rabbit, if you insult other members of the chat box, I'm going to ban you. All right. I'm deleting that comment. That's your only chance. That's the only warning you're getting. See you later, Lime Spec. Stevens, the Truth Seeker. Hello. Stephen says this shit isn't going to wash with the general public anymore. No, a lot of it doesn't. A lot of it doesn't. Darren Retro. Hello. Diego Rivera says rubbish American Zionist propaganda. Well, Diego Rivera, I think you may be partly right. The thing is, I don't believe Trump's a bad guy, but if he has been co-opted and subverted by bad guys through threats against his family's lives, then the effect is the same, unfortunately. And Jock of Ages says this would have happened sooner if Clinton had been in power. Jock, if Clinton had been in power, we'd already be at war. Yeah. And what's more, it could have resulted in a direct confrontation between the US and Russia, who you may have noticed are both very heavily armed with nuclear missiles. Rabbit says that would be the same Russia that invades Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing with Ukraine has gone, well, we don't know. That's gone quiet for a while. At least we haven't heard anything of it in the news, have we? But that was all over the EU, That's very interesting, wasn't it? Darren Retro says, update, Iran has discovered a new oil field containing 53 billion barrels of crude. President Hassan Rouhani says that Sunday a find that would increase Iran's proven reserves by over a third. Well, what do you know, Darren? Whenever that happens, war always breaks out. Have you noticed? Darfur, they struck oil, war breaks out. Falkland Islands, struck oil, war breaks out. I mean, there's examples across the world. Diego Rivera says Trump is part of the project for the new American century. He's not. You must be joking. He's hated by them. Most of those PNAC people, William Crystal and people like that, they're all never Trumpers. Diego Rivera says no more wars for Israel. I quite agree. Kloppite says Israel, USA, UK, axis of evil. Well, it's the way if the cabal take over the whole place, if that is what is exactly going on, then yeah, I mean, I hate that. I hope that won't happen. Diego Rivera says stop the Zionist New World Order. Well, it's not just Zionist, Diego Rivera. I do say stop the New World Order. It's not just Zionist, but yeah, I'm opposed to. I don't like Zionism. I don't like the way Israel behaves. I don't like the way that they call you a Jew hater if you criticize them in any way. Even Jews themselves, people like Gilad Atzmon have been called Jew haters. And I just like that as well. Rabbit says kind of not a good idea for Iran to go attacking embassies, oil tankers, and taking hostages. Well, yeah. I mean, I think despite what they're saying, I think they realise there's a limit to what they can do and survive. Goonlove, hi, how you doing? Kloppite says, I told you, Ben, I would unsubscribe for you supporting Trump, and I did. Fair, suit yourself, Kloppite. I'm not going to change my position because you choose to unsubscribe. If you believe I'm wrong and explain, that's fine. And now Kloppite says, I can't, Ben, you can't see the wood for the trees. Well, look, I've explained to you why I took the position I did with Trump. I haven't rejected that position I took with Trump as an individual, but I am considering the possibility that Trump has had a massive setback, but the cabal have gained an enormous victory over him, and that would be awful if that happens. And I feel for him. I hope his family will be safe. I hope he will be safe. I don't want to judge him for what he's done. What would I do in that situation? I've got a child. If someone was pointing a gun at her head, what would I do? Almost anything. Hugo Rune says, yeah, the Saudi as well, Israel, US, Saudi, yep, they're all behind it. I mean, it's ironic, isn't it? With that Shemaina Begum, a woman of British nationality, who was being banned from the country for joining IS. How come she was banned from the country, but Clinton and the Saudi king and the Israeli foreign minister and all those other people, they were not banned from the country? Why? Jock of Ages, he's hate watching you. Kloppite says, Stevens says, Kloppite, where are you still here? So am I Kloppite's Kevin Logan? Is that what you're saying? Kloppite, am I your Kevin Logan? Do you hate follow me and hate watch me and just click down, but you thumb down every video I watch, just like I do with Kevin Logan? David Schultz, greetings. Hello, how's things in Maine? Hope you're all right. Rabbit says, Israel have been taking out Iranian targets in Syria for months. Iran does nothing. Hard to think how it's going to attack the US. Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to, Iran could attack Israel and probably do it an awful lot of damage, but they're not. Probably because they're concerned for their own survival. I mean, what would happen is probably, well, Israel has nuclear weapons. Despite the fact that everyone's saying, oh, it's evil, Iran's developing nuclear weapons. Well, Israel has them in quite a large quantity and would use them, I think. Like Mordecai Vanunu exposed before they locked him up in jail. Richard Kinzert says, all wars are bankers' wars. Note the petrol prices have gone up sharply since the general election. Well, yeah, Richard, and I'm sure the oil companies are loving that, aren't they? What's more, war is... If war stopped, there'd be a massive industrial downturn, and there's people who know that war is business. I mean, we were talking before about the Great War, which is funded by the Bank of England. Both sides were funded by the Bank of England. Again, head of the Bank of England gave money to Adolf Hitler. We know that the American banking system funded the Soviet Union right back from the days when Lenin first formed the Bolsheviks. What's his name? Anthony Sutton has exposed that. Yeah, see where the money flows, and you can see it flows everywhere. Diego Rivera, that's going too far. I think you see, as I said, I'm not sure. I know you have you've have a completely fixed view on Trump. You've worked from your position. You believe you've worked it all out. I feel differently. Yeah. Oh, Kloppite. Oh, Kloppite couldn't resist it. Yeah, Kloppite. Just follow me. Subscribe to me again. Like I subscribe to Kevin Logan. I follow him on Twitter and Christy Winters. Rabbit says Iran has been attacking oil tankers anyhow. Yeah. No more wars for Israel. No, I know. Hey, Diego, I hope you're not going to repeat yourself too much tonight. Kloppite says Israel, UK, and USA behind everything. I'm sick of it. Not everything, Kloppite. I mean, when you talk about these countries, it doesn't necessarily mean everyone in it. Like I said, I believe Trump is a backlash against this globalist New World Order, as is Boris Johnson. As I've always said from the start, I wasn't. There's no guarantees that Trump is going to maintain control of what he has. This could be a setback on his part. Alternatively, as many people, lots of Trump loyalists on Twitter are saying, this is all for somehow intended is actually a good thing. Now, I don't know which it is, but I'm entertaining both possibilities right now. Alex Fate, hello, how are you? Good to see you. Stephen says the Illuminati, exactly, they're behind it all. Rabbit says there are two sides fighting in Syria. It is Assad who wants people to think there are only two. What brought this? Yeah, I mean, what's going on there? I mean, I don't get that. Kloppite, the Illuminati is not the Three Stooges. Well, Diego versus Israel started the war in Syria. Well, obviously, the war in Syria was the enemy that Assad is fighting has been backed by Israel. I mean, we talked about that on previous live streams. So yes, exactly. Israel has been backing ISIS. It's been supporting and arming them, as has through this, and also as the United States through the CIA. Stephen, I'm not sure how violence can stop violence. Well, it can do in some circumstances, Stephen. For example, in that Texas shooting, in that church shooting in Texas, it was stopped because one of the congregation was armed. He actually shot the guy doing the shooting. So that's an example where violence can stop violence. I don't know if this is something similar. I mean, some people are saying what we're seeing now is essentially a larger scale of that. I don't know. I really don't know. Diego Rivera says 2016 is fake. Trump is the cabal. No, he's not. Yeah, Diego Rivera, I'm not going to answer every comment you make when you repeat yourself, okay? Because you tend to post the same comments over and over again, so I'm not going to respond to every single one. I'll respond to them once or twice and then leave it at that. Okay. Galaxian, hello. As long as the UK keeps his nose out, fuck them. Well, I do hope, Galaxian, that Boris has the sense, whatever is going on here, I hope Boris has the sense to confer with Trump and just to work out exactly what's going on and take the right action. Rabbit, the West were taking on ISIS before Russia was involved. That's true. But they were taking on an enemy that they'd been created through Western intelligence. Okay, Diego Rivera says Boris is a Zionist puppet too. No, he's not. This doesn't mean that there aren't people in our government who are. This has all been planned when Mossad did 9/11. I'm not sure if it was just Mossad, but certainly 9/11 was not done by the people we're told it has. I mean, obviously, I don't think that Al Qaeda and Bin Laden, whatever they did, has these directed energy weapons that John Hutchison talked about. Kloppite says you can't kid a kid. I'll never support the West invasion of any country. Too much money, too many bombs to play around with. Well, Kloppite. I got the feeling that Trump wanted a more isolationist policy. Trump definitely, I think, wanted to end. He has been moving towards ending this interference. So if he's done this to stop a war, genuinely, and that's what it's going to do, maybe he knows what he's doing. On the other hand, maybe he has been subverted by the cabal. The Illuminati have basically gained some ground against him, and they've manipulated him into doing this. And I don't know which it is, but I believe that that the best thing, I think the United States should extract itself as quickly as possible and as smoothly as possible from the Middle East, as should other countries that are actually involved in there. I really do. Rabbit says Ben doesn't understand what's going on because he's too busy chasing conspiracy theories. That doesn't make any sense, Rabbit, because that's just a piece of rhetoric. You're not giving any details. Also, chasing conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories is what's going on, and I don't pretend to understand what's going on here. I've said from the outset, this situation is at the moment is one that I'm not certain of, and I'm not scared to say that. And I may do an updated live stream when more information comes to pass. Stephen said the good news is this could be a sign of the Illuminati getting desperate. The problem is they can do more damage before they give up. Yes, Stephen. How far they'll go, I don't know. How far what plans they've got, I don't know. But they are getting desperate. They are pushing us more, definitely down. They're pushing back against the ground they've lost, definitely. Richard said, this puts the impeachment headlines on page 3. Put the impeachment stuff with the tits. That's what I say. Yeah, they're a bunch of tits. Well, that's true. It has also put the Epstein stuff down a peg or two, hasn't it? And the Prince Andrew stuff. Stephen says, I met Shayla. Yeah, I've met him a few times, Stephen. He was actually at the Basis Project conference. You can contact him on Facebook. He's on Facebook if you want to talk to him. He's quite approachable. Clopite says, still scratching my head how Boris got elected. Oh, Clopite, if you're not so high and mighty that you're not going to subscribe to me anymore, and you choose to resubscribe, you'll see I've got a whole series of videos about that, which you might find enlightening. Right, just going to pause a minute, gentlemen and ladies, because I've got to do something quickly. Saved. I've just been editing my new video, which I'm going to upload hopefully sometime tonight when I've done this, which you'll like. It's a new video. I decided to go ahead with it despite what's been happening. I decided to go ahead with it. So I'm just going to, it's just been editing. I'm just going to process it now. Okay, create. There we go. So that's just going to process. It'll take a couple of hours, but I just thought I'd do that. Diego Rivera with Trump and okay, that is the New World design. No, that's not a repetition. Actually, the New World Order will never get a better chance to bomb Iran. Well, I am worried. I am concerned about that. You know, Diego, I am. That does worry me. Yeah. Okay, where are we now? Rabbit says, why did Assad's forces attack the Kurds then, Ben? You do know the Kurds supported by the West have been very successful in fighting back ISIS. Explain that, Ben. I can't explain it, Rabbit, I'm afraid. I don't, as I said, there seems to be a three-way war. Or even 4 ways. I'm not sure if it's complicated, and I don't have an answer to that, quite frankly. Sorry. I'm still trying to work it out. You might have all the answers or think you have all the answers. I know that Diego does, but I don't. Diego Rivera says the election is rigged. No, it wasn't. There were attempts to rig it, I'm sure, but it didn't work. Charles Scott. Hello, Charles. Welcome. This is Charles from Truth Seekers Northeast. Hey, Charles. Oh, man, I must have met you. How are things up north in Truth Seekers Northeast? I hope to come. If you want me to speak again, just let me know. I'd love to come speak with you guys. Charles says, wouldn't be surprised if false flags are military industrial complex and sell lots of weapons for war with Iran, NATO to take over Iran. Yeah, I mean, we should. If something happens, you know what I mean? Bombing, shooting, ship sinking. Don't assume it's who we think it is. Do you remember that? Do you remember that incident where an oil tanker was basically attacked with supposedly by Iranian special forces? They blew a hole in the side of it with a limpet mine. It wasn't who we thought it was it? So yeah, we've got to watch out for things like that. Jock says a new war in Libya. Oh, blimey, there's to be wars everywhere. And Diego says, expect a false flag to be blamed on Iran. Well, that's something you are right about, Diego. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Galaxian says, Diana, but it's still scratching her head about how much a $10,000 policeman costs. Oh, God. She was quiet during the election, wasn't she? I think Galaxian, they realised that the best chance Labour had in the election was just to just keep Diane Abbott, keep her mouth shut. And they can't sack her, can they? Because she's a black woman, and she and Corbyn have history. She probably has some dirt on him, photographs and things like that. But they just said, look, Diane, just stay out of the way and shut up. Don't ruin our chances. Rabbit David showed his nuts. He claimed he was Jesus. Oh, Rabbit, that's 2 sentences, which is a complete nonsense and oversimplification. It's not like that at all. I've interviewed him. Check out Hapanmo Radio. I've interviewed the guy. Check out his speech at the Basis Project conference. Honestly, Jock of Ages. It's a total cluster shag. Yeah. Paul Culliford. Hello, Paul. Trump got access to the Looking Glass. That's how QAnon. I've not. What's QAnon been saying about this? Let's check. It's QAnon. I'll just go to QAnon.pub. That's the one I always use. Where is it? It's QAnon.pub. Hang on, because that's the aggregator of all the Q drops. Here we go. I should have checked this out actually beforehand. There's been nothing since December 29th. Is Q not saying anything? Or is there another Q source somewhere? Oh. Jack Daniels, hello. I'll have a glass of you anytime. James Howe, good evening. Rabbit says, funny how all Ben's sources are nuts. Rabbit, that's again, you're just making no points there. Videos from the underground. Hello. Trump will be run through the mud for this. Yeah. 69 Phuket, hello. Hi, Ben and all. 2020 is the same shit then. Surprise, surprise. Well, Phuket, it's got off to a pretty bad start, hasn't it? Clockbite says 2020 looks gloomy thanks to the usual suspects. Yeah. Stephen says, yeah. Well, Stephen, yeah, the whole idea of Jesus is and stuff and David Shayler, it's just the usual. It's the usual things. Like people say about David Shayler what they said about David Icke. Happy New Year, David. May you live in interesting times, as the Chinese say. Yes, indeed. And we do, don't we? Diego Rivera says Derek Akora's passed the other side. How he's now with his spirit friend, Sam. Yeah, I heard about that. I'm very sorry to hear that. Derek Akora's passed on, yeah. We haven't heard the last of him. He will contact us at some point. Diego Rivera says Derek Akora. Oh, Galaxian, that's not very nice. I'm going to remove the comment. I mean, you're entitled to free speech, but the guy's just died. All right, so none of that, please. Just wait until give it some time. All right. Peter Steins, hello. How are you? And Conspiracy Theory Watch, greetings. Paul Culliford said Trump got access to the Looking Glass and can roughly guess the outcome of the future thanks to his uncle who had Tesla's technology back in the day. That's why Q is mostly right. WGG1, WGA. Yeah, where we go one, we go all. Paul. Yeah, John Trump, who was a physicist professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, was one of the guys who entered the hotel room in 1943, January 1943. I can't remember what date, when Tesla left this world. He was one of the guys who sealed it off. It's a very interesting story, which I don't have time to tell now, but maybe you're right, Paul. Maybe that's it. Hey, welcome back, Lime Specs. Right. Rabbit says, I have to thumb down this video out of a duty to defend the internet from anyone stupid. Rabbit, go ahead if you want. I don't care what you think of this video or any other. What I care about is what I'm trying to get to the truth here, and you think of it what you want and do what you want with it. Vanya Peterson. Hello, Vanya. How are you? I had a lovely Yule and Happy New Year. Thank you. Delis87. Happy New Year, Ben. Happy New Year, Delis. And this is Happy Harry. Something. Hello, Happy Harry. Whatever. God, what a name. Happy New Year, Joe. Happy New Year, Galaxian. Thank you. Johnny Jam Shovel. Evening. Good evening. Rabbit says, Ben, try to read properly. There are more than two sides fighting in Syria. Yeah, well, I'll try and read properly, but I'll do my best. But just correct me if I get something wrong. Assad ignored ISIS for years while taking on the FSA because he knew the West supported FSA but would never support ISIS. Are FSA the Kurds? Adele said it will certainly be interesting to see how Iran will respond to this. Yeah, one commentator suggested earlier that Iran could fund a new wave of terror in the streets of the West. Well, Delis, that is possible. Or if what you might find, first of all, is that this could happen, or there could be false flags that would be blamed on Iran. Either is possible. I can't see them taking on the US in a deliberate confrontation. Stevens, it says it's buffering. I'm sorry about that, Stephen. I don't know if anyone else is having that problem. Hello, First World Problems. How are you? Rabbit says FSA did the majority of fighting against ISIS in the early years, whilst Assad was attacking them. Right, right. That's like I said, it's a complicated situation, and that's interesting to know. Thanks for the information. Alex Fate says Iran have many options, none of which I'd like to see, though perhaps the largest action could be attack the dollar rather than the state. Well, they've already raised the oil prices have gone up, haven't they? Galaxian says Trump has done the UK a disservice, as we'll have another wave of refugees and terror. Well, if there's all-out war here, of course the US will win. But Iran is what we're looking at here. We're looking at a country much larger geographically than Iraq, with a bigger population and with a much tougher military. There'll be an enormous amount of destruction. And what's more, that will be followed by some kind of occupation if they want a regime change. And we know where that leads, don't we? We've seen it. A massive guerrilla war, which, of course, America can't win. You can't. It doesn't work. I mean, they tried in Vietnam. It devastated them, as it did with the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. You can't win against a dedicated guerrilla force. It's impossible. America, the most powerful military in the world, was beaten by a bunch of guys in flip-flops with woks on their heads. That's the nature of guerrilla warfare. James Howe says, have you ever heard of Bluebell Hill in Kent? It's one of England's paranormal hotspots. No, I haven't, James, but I'm sure it'd interest me. David Schultz says Iran will respond. Here are some thoughts on how. Yeah, their options are open at the moment, but they won't let this go. Alex Fate said it's curious to hear how quiet Russia and China are being at the moment, noticing that we don't want to hear as much, do not want to see here as much as the things we are made to see and listen to. They have been they've given out the pat condemnations, just like Biden and Sanders and all these people in the States. But there's been no actual policy. I heard that Russia and China are doing a joint military exercise. I don't know if that's relevant. Obviously, they must have planned it before this. Mr. MT says, haven't we been letting in Iranian refugees under the banner of "we hate our government" for the last year from the channel? I'm not sure how many are Iranian. I know there are Iranian refugees in the country because I've known some of them. And one of them was a nursing auxiliary at my hospital who I knew quite well. Another was a staff nurse. She was Iranian. So yeah. Delis says, I hope we stay out of it, at least militarily. I suspect we will experience some of the backlash from Iran. Maybe our tankers in the region will be targeted again. They may well be, and maybe not by Iran. There may be false flag attacks. You see, I think Britain will stay out of it. If there's some kind of war, Britain will stay out of it. I don't think once again, we have this bloody. We have another damn war which we get involved in, which we've seen simply. Just like the last ones, basically American and Israeli wars, which we send our troops to fight in. I don't see how that could happen again, even if they do threaten Boris with whatever they threaten Trump with. But there could, in order to persuade the British public and change opinions, there may be some kind of attack on British assets in the region, or even Britain itself, from Iranian sources. Galexian says we need to stay out for a chance to remove the poodle label. Well, I think, yeah, I mean, I always found it amusing, and people made a lot of jokes in the 80s about Orwell. George Orwell in 1984 said that in the future Britain's name would be Airstrip 1, which of course is kind of prophetic, because basically Americans were using our air bases to attack the Middle East, and it was seen that way, wasn't it? Jock of Ages says Iran, China, and Russia are about to have a large naval exercise last week. That's it. And that was obviously planned before all this kicked off, but I wonder if that's a coincidence. Iran has been firing into Saudi Arabia over Yemen, and who knows what else is happening. We may never know the truth. Yeah, what's happening in Yemen is absolutely disgusting. I mean, they're bombing schools and hospitals and things. Little kids are getting killed. And Owen Jones, I don't like Owen Jones. I think he's a little sod, but he did a really good interview with, I forgot who it was, about how Britain's involvement, Britain bloody selling weapons to Saudi Arabia to do this, makes me ashamed. First World Problem says some terrorists got killed. Mayor Labour UK, Democrats USA only ones concerned. The reason the woke left are losing are they only care about woke politics and minorities and hate their own countries. Yeah, well, that's first world problems. I mean, if you check out my videos on the general election, if you haven't already, you'll see that I go along with that, definitely. Stephen said, there's meant to be a place of sacrifice in Winchester called Bluebell Clearing. Derek Akora went there. Did he? Oh, I wonder what's on. I've only just heard that he died. I've been busy. I've been away. Was away all day, then I came home and I've been editing. I've basically not stopped since I got up at 4:30 this morning. This is why I'm knackered. I don't want to go on too late tonight, if you don't mind, guys. I also want to upload this new video, which is it's still processing at the moment, and it will take. How long will it take to process? Oh, it says 25 minutes here, but that's probably because it's going through some studio stuff. But I want to upload that soon as well. I was going to upload that even before this. I was planning this video, and I filmed some of it even before this all kicked off. But then I realized I had to do a live stream on this subject. David Schultz says, article on Zero Hedge, Iran will respond. Here's some thoughts. Right. Roger Saltscape. Hello, Roger. War and attacks, who cares? Greta is travelling by train and she's sitting on the floor. Hi, Ben. Hi, Roger. Greta that girl needs the social workers to take care of her, because her parents, what are they doing to her? What are they doing to their mentally ill teenage daughter? She's supposed to be 17. She's probably about 2 or 3 years younger than that. What the hell are they doing to that poor kid? Filling her head with prophecies of doom. And when you're that age, these stories really, really have an effect on you. I remember what it was like when I was that age, and I remember how incredibly frightened I was by these kinds of things. I literally couldn't sleep. I'd cry all night. Peaceful Warrior. Hello, Peaceful Warrior. Happy New Year. Hi. Looks like America killed Sean Connery then. He doesn't. He just looked like him a bit. Yeah. R1 says, is Iraqi government, hello R1, is weak, unable to take control, currently in the middle of protest. Trump sanctions Iran due to Israeli pressure. Iran's Soleimani allegedly retaliates by attacking a US base in Iraq. Yeah, I mean, Trump is portraying this as a retaliatory strike, and in order to prevent attacks against American assets. And maybe he's right. Maybe that's what this is. I'm not sure. In this case, then maybe it's good news. I don't know. Maybe this is a good thing. Honestly, I don't know. Charles Scott says, I'm sure we will want you back for another talk at Truth Seekers Norkeys. Oh, thanks, Charles. Any time, mate. I'd love to. I've never really been happy doing that. R1 says, US drones targets Iranian targets Iranian in Iraq. Iran will probably attack US allies in the region, maybe conduct a major cyber attack. It could be. I mean, they seem to have some very, very good kind of hackers on board. Do you remember when they hacked that drone? I thought it was quite funny. They hacked an American drone. It supposedly was encrypted. Its software is supposedly encrypted, so it can only be controlled by its guy, the guy on the ground. But the Iranians hacked it. They got it to land at an Iranian airbase. I mean, they did return it afterwards, but I thought that was very funny. Piece 4 is someone knows his onions. Looking glass. The looking glass thing's very interesting, isn't it? Craig, hello, Craig. Hi, Ben. You seen all the huge ships caught on ISIS recently and John Wilson's latest upload? No, but I've heard of it. People are raving about it. Yeah, loads of stuff is going on up in space at the moment, and I've done an entire video recently about UFO disclosure, so check that out. Stephen, I'm sorry the thing's buffering. It's probably a problem at your end. Maybe something wrong with your speed, your connection speed. Clockbike says, I've got 53 billions for war, Trump. All right. Yeah, good luck with that, mate, Stephen. Clockbike. Ben, of course the USA will win. There are no winners in war. Look, I know, Clockbike. Don't be so literal. I said as soon as after that, I said straight away that it would cause enormous destruction and result in a guerrilla war that the USA could not win. I think you're oversimplifying what I'm saying, and you're truncating it with a simple sentence at the beginning. Clockbite, you listen to what I'm saying. I'm not advocating any war with Iran because the USA would win an all-out battle, but it would cause an complete destruction of the country and millions of people dead. This would rip out the soul of America in the same way the Vietnam War did. It would mean that there'd be some kind of regime change, and then a guerrilla war like it's never been fought before. It would be devastating. I know there would be no winners in that war. David Schultz, an interesting person. Who was Dr. Patrick Flanagan? 1944 to 2019 on YouTube. Not heard of him. Oh, Happy New Year. Paul Armstrong, Happy New Year. Clockbite says Russia and China are not trigger happy. USA has been bought up on Hollywood war films as itching for conflict. Oh, God, yeah. I mean, some of them are bloody terrible, aren't they? Oh, Hugo Rune, are you buffering as well? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, mate. If it carries on, it may be a problem with YouTube. I don't know. Melvin Sherman, welcome, Melvin. 2012 theory of everybody suck. I don't know what that means. Williamism, hello. I did say though, watch Israel. Yeah. Craig says, war is a good boost for the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq. Yes, it is. It's basically the only industry the United States has at the moment. Definitely, yeah. Clockbite says, MI5 watching this. Fuck them too. Yeah. Get a proper job, guys. Peaceful Warrior says, we are allies. Where we go, they go. Is that like a joke on the QAnon thing? Craig says, what about all the things in the sky? Well, Craig, check out my last video, UFO Disclosure 2020. Clockbite, how on earth can we know the USA air bases to be stationed here? We shouldn't be allies of the USA, for God's sake. Well, a lot of them, it was a lot worse in the Cold War. Do you remember? I mean, I don't believe in this foreign intervention. Has been a disaster. It's just creating more problems that they need more intervention to solve. And of course, that's all part of the plan, isn't it? Craig says the secret space program is real. Yes, it is. They aren't even hiding things on the ISS. We can pretty incredible things being caught. I checked, Craig. I've not checked that out in detail, but it sounds absolutely fascinating. First World Problem says, I'm off to Drakelow Tunnels for my next investigation. Hey, First World Problems, well, let me know when the video's up, because, I mean, the orbs you caught in that old hospital or whatever it was very interesting. Hey, Chris, Eric von Essex, a.k.a. Chris. Hello, I was on his show. Check out Eric von Essex's channel, because he got lots of interesting interviews with people like Caroline Stevens, Mark Windows, and me. So nice. Thanks for joining us, Chris. Drones are terrifying. Don't need wars. Just assassinate the enemies. People at will. They are. I mean, what you'll find is the people who have drones tend to be more bold because there's no risk to themselves. It's just a robot aircraft. Paul Armstrong, will Derek Okora now spend his time contacting the living? Paul, you can guarantee it. Absolutely. Barbara Whittle. Hi, Barbara. Look at the reaction of the Democrats. They are against what Trump did as they knew what evil was planned by their comrades in the deep state. You know, Barbara, that's another comforting thought, because that maybe this is something that is good. Because I don't know right now, honestly don't. But look what this is basically. If Hillary Clinton had been president, this would have happened years and years ago. And there would be a devastation. And these very same people have backed Clinton. So they're obviously against Trump. So who knows? Who knows? Hello, Williamism. Hello. Peaceful Warrior says, imagine just drones striking Hitler. That would have saved a lot of fuss. Well, you see, I'm not saying, weapons are morally neutral. They could be used for good or bad. And so that's, oh, yeah, Eric von X is, where are we now? Hang on. Barbara says in the Middle East, I'm just going to have to skip a few comments. Sorry, guys. In the Middle East, start World War III. I stand with my president. He is no war and monger. Barbara, he's not. If this is an attempt to start a war by Trump, it's out of character, which is why I was concerned that he's been subverted. Maybe Melania or Barron or another member of his family has been threatened. Like when he carried out that airstrike. Do you remember the fire in Trump Tower? You see, when he said drain the swamp, he said it before he'd been elected. And he had absolutely no idea at that time how deep and rancid the swamp really was. Since then, he has found out. And I respect the man for standing his ground against that. How many people could really do that? I hope this will turn out the way Trump says it will. He says he'd done this to stop a war, not to start, and he may be right. I don't know. Stephen says the Illuminati would have done tech back then. Would have had drone tech back then. Well, they did. They just didn't use it. Yeah, they had crash retrieval, Stephen. Back then. And Craig says there's a level above the president and prime minister that we were never told about. And that's it. Yeah. Mary444. Hello, Mary. How are you? Doubtful she's a teenager, Ben, since the hospital she was born in closed down 25 years ago. All right. See Michelle Y videos about Greta. It seems she is form of an elite Swedish family of actors. Yes. Mary, I didn't know that about the hospital. That's very interesting. But she's definitely not. It's not just a random thing. I mean, Greta came to fame when she was just supposedly an ordinary Swedish schoolgirl who stood on the steps of the town hall and started reading long passages about climate change, and that made her an international star. Just as the Extinction Rebellion movement was launching. Very well funded, that is. I went to one of their meetings. I tell you what, I didn't have to pay to get in. Where's the money coming from? And so Greta is this mascot for this movement. And her family they were involved in show business. They were involved in the Eurovision Song Contest, all of that. So Sahel Kasi, official fan, he's back, guys. That's quite a name and a half. Can I call you Sahel? Oh, welcome back, yes. Joe Glover Q question: should Benjamin Netanyahu stand down, and does that man really want peace? He does not want. No one can be a prime minister of Israel and want peace, because they've done everything they can to stop the peace. I mean, they keep invading their neighbors. They can't decide where the borders of Israel are. They keep occupying other lands. This is crazy. It's crazy what they're doing. Eric says drones are getting smaller. They predict one could be the size of a small bird that could kill someone. Oh, an insect, Eric, an insect. Can you believe it? Yeah. Who knows? Nanotechnology and stuff. Jason Sean, did the mystic Baba Vanga predict war in 2020? I've not heard of Baba Vanga. Badge 51. Hello, Badge. It's Ronnie. Hello, Ronnie. kind of worried about what Iran's retaliation might be and the long-term effects. Yes, I am too, Badge. Not just Iran's retaliation from itself, but from the maybe cabal false flag attacks that could be carried out and blamed on Iran, which would probably be much worse than anything Iran could do itself. Rabbit says, yes, Ben, you got it. It's a three-way and more war in Syria, but Assad wants you to think it's just him against ISIS, him or ISIS. Why do you think he'd like everyone to believe that, do you think? Well, I don't know, Rabbit, but yeah, it's obviously an act of deception because it benefits him, I suppose. Peaceful Warrior says, no winners in war. You obviously don't own an arms company. Good point, Peaceful Warrior, yeah. Oh, yeah. David Schultz, on Blacklisted News, round 2, US drone airstrikes kill 6 people. Yeah. Eric Von Essex, USA's never won a war on its own. Jason Sheen, Ben, have you seen The Cosmic Secret? Yes, it was interesting, actually. I mean, it was about this idea of mental intention coming true in the real world. There's actually a film that goes into it in more detail called What the Bleep Do We Know, which I think is very good. Craig, MI5 could help you if you trained. You could recruit me as a double agent if you want. Yeah. Peaceful Warrior, thing that gets me is who is after Iran. I don't know what's going on. Darren says, always makes me think if I ever endanger somebody because of any incompetence at work, I could get sacked and possibly jailed. If a politician causes that situation and kills millions, it's okay. I know it's a bloody travesty. David Schultz, US to deploy thousands of additional troops. Yeah. Vanya Patterson, loved Eric of Cora. He will now be with his beloved Sam and Mary. Yeah. I hope he'll be all right on the other side. I look forward to see what messages he sends back. He was going to speak at the probe conference and now can't. Yeah. Well, unless someone channels him, of course. Chris Eric says, history is written by the winners. Yeah. Hence the reason French history books have so many of their blank pages. Nothing says, how dare Iran putting up a centuries old country in between all our air bases. Alex Fate, a preemptive strike of a high-up general. Who's next? Yeah. David Schultz, Israel, given advance notice of US plan to kill Iranian General Soleimani, US Congress left in the dark. Yeah, where did that come from, David? David Schultz. Oh, Peaceful Warrior's got a joke here. Do you know the difference between Italians and toast? The answer is you can make soldiers have toast. David Schultz. Julian Assange is being tortured to death. I'm dying here. David, I saw that on Gab. It's trending on Gab.ai. Oh God, you remember I covered that, didn't I, on a previous live stream? And what do you want to do about that? Right, he's being, what they're doing to him is disgraceful. I mean, oh dear. It's heartbreaking. It really is. Eric says, peace. Italian tanks have 3 reverse gears and 1 forward. Oh, Stephen, use your imagination when it comes to technology. Diego Rivera says Richard D. Hall says Rendlesham is fake. Well, he says it's like it's like disinformation. It's I'll be covering that in a future video. I'm going to do a new Shield Squad video, Diego Rivera. I'll go into detail. I'll do a detailed report on that program. Okay, I've already done one on the Hapanwo Voice blog, so check that out. If you read Hapanwo Voice, you'll see it. Diego Rivera says Ayatollah Khomeini was a British agent. Well, he was. It's something to do with Mohammad Mossadegh. You remember the original? He was the leader who was replaced by the Shah, who was then replaced by the first Ayatollah Khomeini. Villanora, hello, says, I want to go on Corey Good's Enlightenment course. All right, I've not seen that. Stephen said, I thought R.D. Hall is saying something happened, but not what we think. Yeah, that's it, Stephen. That is the premise. that is the conclusion of his new program, which I'll be addressing in my next Shield Squad video, and also which is coming up probably in the next few days. And I've done a report on it on the Hapanmo Voice blog if you want to read that. Vanya says Iran has a ministry of magic, so psychic shields up. Ben, all right. So well, it's like in the Second World War with the Nazis and with Helen Duncan, isn't it, Vanya? Brian Clare, hello. They took it out in Lebanon. Brian, I think it was Iraq. Diego Rivera says Richard D. Hall says the UFOs are a cover story. He does indeed. And I'll be covering that in a future video, probably this week, called Shield Squad 4. I'll answer. I'll tell you what. I won't go into too many details about that now. I'll answer your comments on that video. Charles Scott, Derek was a stooge. Charles, I mean, I know. Do you remember the Creed Kafer incident? Yeah. I'm not. I know that David Icke thought very highly of Derek Acora. I don't know. Oh, Peaceful Warrior says Glaswegian James Bond. Deep fat fries, not boiled. Whiskey, straight mixed, and women hairy, not shaved. That's straight up 007, License to Kill. Deborah Boaz. Hello, Deborah. Debbie of VA in America. Love to listen to all opinions. Very wise of you, Deborah. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad that someone has that kind of wisdom. Diego Rivera says Khomeini's father was English. All right, I didn't know that. Galaxian says Derek Acora used to shoot cats out of his bedroom window. Did he? Oh, no. Diego Rivera's brought up that very famous little issue where Acora's going like this. I got a message here. Mary loves Dick. Mary loves Dick. Oh, God. He'll never play that down, will he? He'll never get over that. That'll be his epitaph, I bet you. David says, say, Ben, did you view Richard Dolan's top 10 UFO stories for 2019? I haven't yet, no. John O says, Trump did fire the warmonger supreme John Bolton. Yes, he did. I was very relieved to see that. Faz40 says, what do you think of the rumor on the net about Prince William is the coming Antichrist of the Bible? Faz40, welcome, by the way. And he was born on the 21st of June, the summer solstice. Now, there's been a lot of scandal over the fact that Diana was induced so that Prince Charles wouldn't have his polo matches disrupted. However, I'm sure he was induced to be born on the 21st of June, but it wasn't for that reason. It's the summer solstice. He is the it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Peaceful Warrior, Mary loves Dick. She was Glaswegian. Oh, right. Oh, blimey. God, I'm knackered. Do you guys want to say any more? Do you mind if maybe we wrap this up soon? Because I've been on the go non-stop since 4:30 this morning. I liked Derek Acora, Stephen. I really did. Yeah, I mean, I liked his stuff. I mean, I sort of went off Nose Taunted. I did go off it a bit, but of course, because a lot of it is fate. But guys, I'm sorry. This is a video that's going to end with no firm conclusions. I don't know what's going on here, quite frankly. There are several possibilities that we've discussed, and I don't know exactly how it's going to go. My mind is a bit slow because I've been on the go since 4:30. I only slept 3 hours last night, and I got up at 4:30. And so what I could do is maybe we could reconvene and do another live stream. Maybe if there's an update. Because right now we don't really know, do we? We really don't know. But please watch the channel because it's processing at the moment, and so it's actually just processing, and it's actually a new video coming up very soon, which I was gonna upload today anyway before all this kicked off. So this live stream has come sort of in the middle of the normal schedule, but I'm gonna stick to the normal schedule. I'm gonna upload the new video. It'll probably be up before midnight, so check it out. I hope you enjoy it. In the meantime, guys, Thanks, Hugo. Good night. And Vanya, thank you very much. Thanks for joining us. All the best, Peaceful Warrior. And Jason, tune in next time. Dr. Jackie F. Johnson, Happy New Year. Yeah, Vrillon, we'll see what happens. But I think I'll be doing another live stream with an update, I reckon. Rabbit says, read Majid Nawaz on Twitter. I will. I follow him on Twitter, actually, so I'll check that out. Deborah, good night, Deborah. Thanks for joining us. Jock of the Ages, thanks very much. Good night, Tom Whelans. Good night, Mary. Happy New Year, Galaxian. Tom Whelans, are you a virgin? All right. You didn't have to tell us that. So long, David. David, I'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining us. And Thomas Schofield, good night. Ian Batchelor, good night. Thank you very much for joining us. Dr. Jackie says Donald Trump is a right cool dude. You know, Jackie, we've been talking about that this evening, and I'm sure he is. And whatever the outcome, the question is this something he intended to do or something he was forced to do? Oh, thanks, Deborah. Thanks for subscribing. You guys take care. We've been going for an hour and a quarter. It's shorter than my usual live streams, but it's been quite a day. And we don't really have meant much to know. We don't really know enough yet, do we? Oh, I love you too, Jackie. Thank you. I conclude there's no conclusion, Fouquet. Absolutely. Adjourn. Yes, we shall adjourn. So take care, guys. Keep an eye out. Thanks, Alex. All the best. And keep an eye out on the channel. Just a couple of hours and there'll be a new video. So watch out for that. All the best.